Hi, my name is Rufus. I'm here to present the newest game for Firelock Games, Blood and Bayonets. This game is set during the Peninsular Campaign of the Napoleonic Wars. What you'll need to play is a playing surface of about 3x3 or 3x4, which coincidentally fits on a dining room table. You'll need miniatures, you'll need dice, markers, a tape measure, and a deck of cards for activations. Firelock Games provides all these things except for the tape measure. You're going to have to get that yourself. And with the upcoming Kickstarter, you'll be able to get punch board to help you represent the fatigue and effects during the game. As I said, the game is set to the Napoleonic Wars in the Peninsula. The plan is, once this game is out, which will have all the core rules and everything you need to know to play, we'll do further expansions covering different areas of the Napoleonic Wars, such as the Napoleon's invasion of Russia, possibly Napoleon's Egypt expedition, and also other facets of the Napoleonic Wars that might not be heavily as touched as they have been in the past. The game also has a full naval element to it, so you can recreate small engagements, not the Battle of Trafalgar, but small engagements that occurred all around the Peninsular Campaign during the Napoleonic Wars, such as coastal raids, frigate actions, small boat actions. It's up to you and your imagination. The amount of things going on along the coastlines of the Peninsular Campaign, during the Peninsular Campaign, were innumerable. There were instances of Spanish guerrillas on English boats going ashore to raid French supply lines, and these could be things that you could do, or small fleet engagements, or not fleet engagements, but small ship engagements of a frigate versus a couple of gunboats. These are all things that you can recreate on the tabletop. That also plays on a 3x4 or a 3x3. Firelock Games has a beautiful range of ships that are available, and hopefully more will come out that'll be more that reflects some of the advancements in the period. One thing that I want to tease out is we will have carronades on the ships. For those that don't know who they are, they're large, powerful, short-range cannons, which will change the gameplay on the ship aspect. Also, the training and the quality of the crews is different, whereas it's become much more standardized. And you have Marine contingents, obviously sailors, commanders, which would be kind of interesting because when you're on the ships, they're fighting in loose groups, manning the ship. The ship is what they're manning. But as they come ashore, the Marines can form up into lines and act more like line infantry on land. That being said, what I have set up here today is a small, not a small, but an actual standard sized game of what a game of Blood and Bayonets would look like. I have several units which will take some close-up photos so you can see what they look like, or close-up shots of them. The units, one of the big differences with this game and a lot of the other games in this series is formations are very important. When units are in formation, they gain a lot of benefits. When they're out of formation, which we refer to as loose, they become much more susceptible to cavalry, much more susceptible to being charged. They're not nearly as effective as if they're in a well-supported group of men. What I have on the table today, which as I said, we'll do some close-up shots. I have an English force versus a French force. But one of the unique things about Blood and Bayonets, you can create a French force that is completely made up of, say, Poles, or a French force completely made up of Swiss. It's up to you and your imagination. Where the British, they have the British, obviously we have the Spanish allies, the Portuguese allies, but you can make an all Spanish force, an all Portuguese force, or any combination of them. You also have Napoleon's brothers force, which was not combat effective, but you could bring those on the field of battle if you want. This game is designed to allow players that are interested in the Napoleonic period, or players that are already heavily involved in it, to play a fun, tactically interesting, objective-based game with not a huge amount of miniatures and not a huge amount of play space. That being said, an average game, well, you'll probably need 30 to 40 miniatures, maybe 60 on the high end, depending on their quality. Lower quality miniatures cost less, higher quality miniatures cost more. More elite force versus more of a, a training conscript type force. But that being said, you can always expand this game out to much larger battles. There are multiplayer rules to do that. So if you and your friends want to spend a weekend playing a massive game, there's rules that show you how to do that. There's also a campaign system in the book and a solo play rules. So if you just have some time on your own and you don't have anyone to play with at that time, you can play the game by yourself. There's other thing that it's a little different than a lot of Napoleonic games, and I don't want to say all, but a lot of them that I've come across is this is a points-based system. So you could point out a 200-point force and tell your buddy, hey, meet me at the store, or I'll meet you at your house, and you bring a 200-point force and you can play the game. You can recreate battles which have unbalanced sides, but that's up to you and your imagination. You can, research the history on it and recreate a small engagement in a battle, or if you wanted to go all out, you can make a massive battle. That being said, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you some close-ups of the actual formations and explain to you how they work in the game, just to give you an idea. And thanks for your time, and I hope you participate in the Kickstarter. Okay, I wanted to show you a top-down view of some of the new formations we have in Blood and Bayonets. Although these forces would probably not be in this good a shape this close together, but I'm putting this out here to demonstrate what they look like. As you see here, which is the English, this is an English line regiment, or line unit, not a regiment, a unit. It's 16 figures. They can be from 8 to 16 figures max, so the maximum is 16. When they're in this formation, which I'm using the movement trays for ease of movement, you don't have to use movement trays, but it makes the game a lot easier to, move stuff around. When they're in this formation, they gain an extra 4 attack dice when shooting. So it makes them more effective at shooting. The English have a special rule, the thin red line, which they gain more attack dice than, say, a French unit or a Spanish unit that's firing in a volley fire type situation like this. Right in front of them, we have the 95th Rifles, which are in skirmish formation. Skirmish formations can spread out a lot further than a regular unit in loose formation or in line formation. They must be within 1 inch of each other, where skirmishers can spread out to 2 inches. The skirmish formation is there exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to create a skirmish line between shooting coming in and whoever they're guarding, and it's also there to harass their opponents. The 95th Rifles do have rifles, and we have rules for that. They have better ranges, but they have slower reloads. When shots come across, can draw a line through the skirmish formation into their target. You can take the hits. You, as the owning player of the unit, can take the hits and spread them into your skirmishers. Your skirmishers have better saves against shooting than your line unit. So it's up to you. You can divide them up however you want. You can put them all in the skirmishers, all in the line unit, whatever you want to do. Right behind my line unit, I have my commander. My commander, we have different ranks of them: lieutenant, captain. We go up to a major. They're extremely important in the game. They create a bubble around them that boosts morale, and also they can give out their command points, which is extra actions to units within that bubble. A basic commander is a commander and 3 guys on foot, but if you add a flag, it adds an inch to the bubble. If you put the commander on a horse, it adds an inch. If you add more musicians or drummers, it adds more inches. So if you want to put 3 bagpipers with your commander, you can expand your command range like that. It's up to you. It allows players a little bit of ability to model some kind of cool stuff. You can do aid to camps, whatever you want. It just represents each. You have to pay points for it, but each one that you add into the command group expands that command range. We have some cavalry over here. These are British cavalry, light dragoons. They, cavalry are kind of unique. They are really powerful, can be really powerful in the game, but they can be fragile also. When cavalry activate, they always gain a free action to move. So if they had 2 actions, it would be like they had 3 because they get the free one. Whenever cavalry end within 8 inches of a unit in formation, line or attack column, which I'll get into in a second, they have the ability to react and form square. So we do have the ability to form square. Once a unit is formed square, it's very, very hard for the cavalry to do anything to them. The cavalry are always considered to be in formation. Cavalry units go from 4 to 12 models. But they're always considered to be in formation, so they do have flanks. And that'll bring me up to what a flank is. If an enemy attacks a unit, say, in line, and the entire force that's attacking, like charging, it would have to be a melee attack, is completely behind the first row, it's considered a flank or a rear attack, and you get bonuses for that attack. Extra dice, no defensive fire. There's a bunch of bonuses involved. On the French side, you have what we have here is called an attack column. Only the French can form attack columns. It's designed to punch into the enemy lines, with depth of numbers. It has huge advantages on the charge. It can re-roll saves against defensive fire, and it can also re-roll misses in close combat. But it has some weaknesses too. It has a lot less firepower because it's only the first 2 ranks can fire. It also has much larger flanks, so it can be easily outflanked if you position it poorly. It also is much more susceptible to cannon fire. Right next to them, supporting them, is a unit of grenadiers. The grenadiers are, veterans in your force. They have higher quality. Right now, quality in shooting, fighting, etc. Right now, there's only 8 of them. And if you notice, I've just built just 8 guys. Once they get below 8, they no longer are considered to be able to be in formation. And at that point, they become loose. Meaning loose, it's like a glob of guys on the battlefield. Important thing about this game is support. So right now, the English are supported with their commander, their morale. So if they have to make a resolve test, which is a morale test, which you take as you gain, as you get injured or you lose members of your unit, take fire, etc., they'll get a +1 buff to their morale roll because their commander's here. Now, if you see over here with the French have their commander right there, so they get the +1, but then they get another +1 because they are near the grenadiers. So a supported unit is much harder to get rid of and forced to flee than an unsupported unit. And that's up to you as a player, how you maneuver your units across the battlefield and the decisions you make. Next, we're going to reposition the camera and talk about a couple of the other units on the battlefield. Okay, what we have here is an example of a unit in skirmish or loose formation. They're Spanish guerrillas. So just to show you, if this unit was moved out from the building, it would be in a loose, what we call a loose formation, which gains, it has some benefits, it has some negatives. The loose formation is they have 360-degree arcs of fire. They don't gain any of the benefits of being in a line or a attack column formation. They cannot form square. And another thing, a unit in loose formation is much more susceptible to cavalry charges. If you're in loose and you have a bunch of, say, French cavalry, which these are some French hussars, come charging at you, your chances of survival is pretty slim. You can't form square, you can't outrun a horse, and they can, run you down on the field. That being said, units that are in formation, once they get under 8 models, so down 7 or less, they automatically go into loose formation. That would be its time when you would take them off the movement tray and put them in a loose formation to make sure that everybody understands that's what they're in. Benefits, I've seen in some of our test games, players purposely go into loose formation. You can always do that for free. You can just drop into it because they're molested by bad guys on all sides and they want to hold the objective, so they drop into loose formation, which gives them 360-degree arcs of fire, so they can defend a little better. But then what I would suggest that if there's a bunch of cavalry looking right down on you. The next one we're going to take a look at is cannons, and we're going to go over those now. What we have here is a Spanish cannon. Cannons are on 60 millimeter round bases. That being said, that just brought up a point. We have everything on 20 millimeter round bases, and the cavalry on 25 by 50 millimeter bases. I use the pill shape, but you can use the squares. If your models are based on slightly bigger bases, it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. One of the reasons that we put them on the smaller bases is because in the Blood and Plunder series and in Blood and Bayonets, fitting on the ships, it's the rule is if it fits, you can put it there. So if you have big giant bases, it makes it a little more challenging to get larger units on ships. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but let me get back to the cannon. So this is on a 60 millimeter base, and each one of these miniatures represents basically a wound to the cannon. Once the cannon gets down to one guy, they start gaining more reloads. It's harder for them to function. We do have a rule that you can actually counter battery fire and destroy the cannon itself. If the cannon is destroyed, the unit is gone, or if all the men are gone, the unit is destroyed. Cannons do have an arc of fire. It's a 180 arc, which is a really wide arc. I want to make sure that you can position them and really cover most of the battlefield. One of the things cannons can do, obviously larger cannons do more damage than lighter cannons, etc. This is a medium gun right here. The calibers at the time are all kind of over the place, so we have it, depending on which nation, the British used 9-pounders, and there were different sizes, so we have them in broken up into heavy, medium, and light guns. We also have horse artillery, which is kind of neat. You can ride up, drop the gun, fire a shot, put the gun back on the horses, and run away. So anyways, back to what I was saying about the cannons. The cannons have a special ability. They can bounce shots. The French were known for this. So when you hit your target unit, potentially the shot could bounce through that unit and hit multiple units behind it. That's a little tidbit for players not to stack all their units up behind each other when facing down at a cannon. The French are better at it. Everybody can skip a shot to a certain point, but the French are better at it. But then we have rules like events that come up throughout the game that can cause the ground to become muddy, and that'll negate their ability to skip shot. One of the special rules for the British is they do have shrapnel. So they have and howitzers. We do have howitzers in the game, which can shoot over troops, and with shrapnel, it makes the shot more devastating. So far we've covered most of the different types of formations and units. There is more in the game. This is just to give you kind of an overview of what a game looks like. The games we've been playing take a couple hours, hour and a half, depending on how well the players know the rules. It's fun, it's engaging, it's a great way to play Napoleonics. It's a great way to get new players involved in the game and interested in the period. Learn the history, learn about all the fabulous uniforms and the fabulous battles, and from there. Thank you very much.